There are many ways citizens can express their disagreements toward their government, from protest, strikes and civil disobedience to insurgency or even terrorism. But have you ever been so angry at a politician that you hate him? Well, if you were a 17th century Dutch citizen living in The Hague, the answer to this question might have been yes. But what happened exactly? Let's uncover one of the darkest pages of Dutch history and try to find out if the Dutch really did eat their prime minister. The year is 1672. At that time, the Netherlands, then called the United Provinces, was in its golden age. This golden age started in 1588 when the Dutch Republic was proclaimed. Albeit the start of a golden age, this period was far from being a peaceful one. Indeed, starting in 1568, the United Provinces fought a lengthy war against the then mighty Spanish crown to gain their independence. This interminable conflict would be known as the 80 Years' War and ended in 1648. Were happening at the same time the paintings of Rembrandt and Vermeer, trade expansion, the establishment of an overseas empire, and scientific discoveries, while battles were fought on Dutch soil and then in the Indian Ocean as well as in the Caribbean. But, as it's always the case in history, all golden ages must come to an end, and for the United Provinces, this era of thriving would stop abruptly in 1672. In the Dutch historiography, 1672 is known as the Rampjaren, or, in English, the disaster year. In the course of this year, everything fell apart for the Dutch Republic. France, for official and unofficial reasons, joined forces with England, Cologne and Munster to declare war and send troops to invade the United Provinces. At that time, the political leader of the United Provinces was, in practice, Johan de Witt. For 20 years, he held the title of Great Pensionary, roughly equivalent to a prime minister. His vision of what the Dutch Republic should be gravely clashed with the one of William III, the young and ambitious prince of the House of Orange-Nassau. The latter was a designated military commander, then still in training at that time, of the country, as well as the heir of the most powerful noble family of the United Provinces. Their divergences regarded many topics, but for this precise context, their main issue was how to handle France's ambition. The Prince of Orange, as a military leader, was wary of the French. Not willing to wait for an invasion, he pleaded strongly for a call to arms. On the other hand, Johan de Witt, as a leader of an assembly mostly composed of a wealthy elite, was more open to discussion with France. His main reasons were economic and pragmatic, as the new French economic policy convinced de Witt that it would be more beneficial for the two countries to be economic allies rather than being adversaries on the battlefield. However, it proved to be an unlucky bet for de Witt, as the French monarchy indeed invaded the Dutch Republic. Overnight, the political vision and leadership of de Witt vanished. Immediately losing almost all his allies and support, the once beloved Great Pensionary was forced to resign. In the meantime, hard times befell on another de Witt, Johan's own brother, Cornelis, also a preeminent statesman. Accused of fomenting an assassination on the Prince of Orange, he was arrested, imprisoned, and tortured to make him confess. Later historians would prove these accusations were baseless and politically motivated. But in the meantime, driven into a corner because of torture, Cornelis confessed and was condemned to exile. That's when, on the evening Cornelis went out of prison and his brother went to support him, the event would take a gruesome turn. There, the two brothers fell into a trap. The Dutch population, now hardline supporters of William III, was furious about De Witt's hesitation regarding France. The last straw was the court's decision to not execute Cornelis. Motivated by days of anti-De Witt pamphlets, articles and even sermons, a mob at boiling point rapidly formed around the prison and started to encircle the two brothers as they went out. Insults quickly started to be thrown at them, but it didn't stop there. Insults soon turned to violence as the two brothers started to get beaten, then lynched by the furious French-fearing mob. The De Witt were senselessly beaten to death by a crowd that has lost every sense of inhibition regarding violence. Their corpses were stripped from their clothes and dismembered. Some participants in the riot were even looking to keep body parts such as fingers or intestine as trophies or with the intention to sell them. Some even said that the organs of the two brothers were eaten by this enraged horde. But is this horrendous fact true? As violent as the lynching was, we don't really know if the reported acts of cannibalism hold any truth. Some accounts wrote that the heart of the two brothers were eaten by the mob. We do know for sure, because of direct sources, that they were indeed dismembered and their hearts were pulled out from their bodies. But the veracity of these cannibalistic acts is still debated today. No direct eyewitness present at the scene of the crime ever wrote about this precise event. We only know about this feat only because of indirect witnesses. For example, the French ambassador in the United Provinces, Simon Arnaud Marquis de Pomponne, reported to Louis XIV that some carried away pieces of the bodies as relics. Others even cooked and ate them, believing they would acquire courage thereby. Some other diplomats from other European countries, all hostile to William III to various degrees, also made the same claim, but they are, once again, second-hand witnesses. Finally, the 18th century Dutch historian Jan Wagenaar wrote doubtfully, decades after the event, that some even claimed that the heart of one of the brothers have been eaten by one of the most fanatical of the mob. As we can see, the sources depicting these precise events are either probably biased for the first and second, because written by foreign observers, hostile to the Orangists at various degrees, or downright skeptical for the third. In conclusion, as far as we know today, these acts of cannibalism might just have been early work of propaganda against an hostile faction. The truth still lied buried in the limbo of history. One fact that remains certain is the gruesome ordeal endured by the De Witt brothers. After being mutilated, their naked corpses were then publicly hanged upside down. All of this happened with the tacit agreement of the Orangist official of the city, who, albeit being present, didn't intervene in any way to save the two brothers from the bloodthirsty mob. Thank you for watching this episode from this series on the European early modern period. More untold pages of history are on the way, so if you do not want to miss any, please consider subscribing, leaving a like and sharing your thoughts in the comments. This, as you know, helps tremendously. This is Forgotten Fragment. Until next time, for the next video.